Hello.
Hi.
Yay. Cute wave.
We're here.
Good morning / afternoon. Is it morning and afternoon for everyone today?
Yes.
Evening for me just now.
Evening? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody in this world. Today on Bay Area UK, we are doing an LGBT roundtable to celebrate Pride Month, which, although is officially over, it goes on eternally for us and ourselves and lives in our hearts. Be gay and do crime in our honor. Thank you. Happy it's Shame Month now, I hear. Why is it Shame Month?
I thought it was Wrath Month.
Wrath?
Yeah.
Are we just
We're angry.
picking a seven deadly sins?
Whichever
Yeah.
sin we want to celebrate this year.
First
I
let's
think-
get right now is gay wrath.
Well, I think June we be gay, and then July we do crime.
We do the crime.
Oh, there
Yeah.
It'll work.
I think that works well. Okay. And hello to my audience who I love so much.
everyone.
Hi. We have a charity drawing that is ongoing and that you can enter until 12 p.m. Pacific time today. We are asking you to please send a donation to your local LGBT charity, and then send us proof that you have done so, some kind of receipt, if you will. There will be wonderful prizes to this drawing donated by J Fashion indie brands, and they're super cool. I know you want those free J Fashion items, so please give an entry. You have 2 hours. TikTok. I'm gonna do some donations, even though I'm not eligible for the raffle drawing, just because it's a good thing to do. I'll also mention, although it's not necessarily what our raffle is based on, it's also a good idea to donate to your local abortion funds. Reproductive health care is important for everybody. Yes, I think we should count that as part of the raffle drawing too. I mean, just do it. So once again, it's okay. I've gotten approval.
Nice.
Just do it.
We should hire up
Count as a
some
raffle drawing too.
Good.
Donate to your local LGBT or abortion fund, and we'll totally accept that as a raffle drawing. Win prize, free. Woohoo! Shout out to doing charity, doing that, put that work in. Okay, LGBT Roundtable. Hi, everybody. We have some wonderful guests with me today. Oh, sorry, not a raffle. I'm not allowed to say that. It's a charity drawing. Here at our roundtable, it's not quite, it's sort of round. We're
It's a
all
heart
seated, we're all
shape.
seated live around a heart shape.
Look at that. Yes.
We're all seated live around a real life table, as you can see. We're all seated together.
Oh,
Here we go.
Is
Here
it
we
like-
go, we gotta do it.
It's good. Yeah, it's a heart. We did it. Good job. We're gonna be talking about some of our experiences being LGBT and wearing J fashion. We have some questions we're gonna talk about. First off, let's start with some introductions. You can see our names, but we'll tell you all about it. So I'm Mani, or Mani Tokigo, from Bay Area K, and my pronouns are she, her. I don't know if I should say like what kind of LGBT I am.
what brand of gay are you?
Maybe.
What
brand?
flavor?
What
Are you
flavor?
Red Larry or Dirty Dan?
So Larry or Dirty Dan. The Bay Area K missed screenshotting our. We could do it again at the end, but yes, I'm bisexual. I recently did a bisexual colored cord, which you can find on my Instagram, which is at Tokigo on Instagram. That's my social media handle. Let me talk about how long I've been wearing J fashion since around 2015. I wear both classic Lolita and also more casual Lolitas, or sorry, not J fashion styles. Like I like girly fashion a lot, sometimes a bit of larm. This is Axis Femme, I like those kinds of things. Okay, that's me. Hello. Who would like to introduce themselves next? You can give your name, pronouns, drop your social handle, and tell us a bit about your J fashion self. Who would like to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
I'm Sarah. I also go by Bread. I'm also part of Bay Area K, although I live in Vermont now. I've been wearing Lolita since 2011. And recently, I've also just been, well, not super recently, but like the last few years, I've been wearing just like other casual J fashion stuff like Access Femme or Fint or Eat Me. Basically, if I find it in black on Closet Child, I'll just buy it. Yeah. I mostly wear goth and classic, or like classic if it comes in black. And my
Black
favorite,
classic.
my favorite
Classic.
brands are probably like Shiglet and like Pierrot. I am wearing an Antique Beast bonnet right now, which I love. It's like the best velveteen ever. It's so nice. Yeah, that's me. Oh, and I'm pansexual.
Lovely. We love to see it, and we love
I
you.
love cookware.
You love cook.
I know everyone makes that
Yeah.
joke, so I just, in
Yeah.
before someone makes that joke, I'm just gonna put that out there.
It's a classic joke. I've called black classic that you are glass or blassic
Classic.
now.
I
Yeah,
love that.
I
Plastic.
think it.
Classic.
Good term. Good term. We always innovating here. Okay, hi to Sarah Bread. Who would like to say hello next?
I'll go ahead and go.
Yes.
I know, right? It's reversed.
Yes.
I'm Avina. I go by Avina K on most social media. I use they, them pronouns exclusively, which I always feel like I have to remind folks. And yeah, I've been in J fashion and alternative fashion for most of my life now. It's been over 15 years. I've lost count. And I started with like Decora and things that I could kind of DIY out of stuff I could find in like mainstream clothing stores. And then I eventually kind of shifted to Lolita, Mori K. I was like super into Cult Party K and Dolly K when they were still like alive and like really super active in Japan. And now I wear a lot of like Pink House, Natural K sort of stuff. And only dabble in all of those other styles because it's usually too hot or it's too dysphoric for me. So it's kind of like a mix of reasons why I don't dress so much in a lot of those styles. But I've been really enjoying a good Hawaiian printed shirt. So that's kind of been like my point of fashion lately has been printed Hawaiian shirts. So, oh yes, my hair is also non-binary.
Oh, okay. Those are the colors. That's
Yeah,
fun.
I
Oh my
dyed
gosh.
my hair for Pride Month in these colors. So, and my nails are, and my eye makeup is. I really love
Oh
the
wow.
non-binary
All the
flag
way.
colors. So,
Oh,
so
they're cute
yeah.
colors.
Yeah, they are.
I've-
They're very cute colors.
I've seen some people dye their hair the bisexual colors too, which I think also go together well.
It's
Can make a
very
nice like kind of ombre gradient with it.
Yes.
How fun. Why didn't we
Yes.
all do our hair?
Everyone should dye their hair the colors of their flag. I also am just queer. I don't try to define it any further than that. I'm not straight.
Just all the way.
The
Yeah.
opposite of straight, basically. However you want to define that. That's what I am.
The opposite of cishet. Just all the way.
Isn't.
Queer all the way. That has been Abina K. Who would like to say hello next?
We can go next. Yeah.
Okay. Our pair over here.
I'm Allegra.
I'm Oriana or Ori.
Sorry,
Either or.
you should swap the
Oh yeah.
the name.
It's a
Oh,
little
no.
awkward.
We're the other way around. Yeah,
Uh-oh.
that's Ori. I'm Allegra. I use she, her pronouns. I've been wearing Lolita for probably also like 15 years, if not more, since like middle school. A long time. I mostly do classic. I like just like Granny K, knits, floral prints, that whole thing. And I identify as pansexual and also demisexual. So I think everyone is attractive, but also stay like 5 feet away from me. We're cool. Yeah. And this is my partner, Ori.
I'm Ori. I use they and she pronouns, so please feel free to use whichever one. I also have been in this for a long time, since 2009, so I think this is 13 years going on now. Yeah, I started out with Lolita, and I still really love Lolita, but I've definitely been getting into OG and dipping my toes in those waters in the last few years, and that's been really fun. Yeah, and I am both sapphic and genderqueer. but also totally just nebulous queer. Very good. Very
Lovely.
Covers a lot of bases.
I love our queer nebulas today in our cloud. I forgot to make this joke. Bay Area gay. That's us.
Thank you for all the nice comments, Rose Foray.
Yeah, our cute little bakers here. A couple goals. You guys have got some really great couple like coordinate photos from various events on your social media. Drop
Yay.
those handles
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yes.
What do you go by?
I got my handle is Allegra and Terry's. It's all one word. If someone can put it in the chat, or I can put it in the chat.
And I have Lace Vampire. Very
easy.
If you're looking for her, you can just
You
see
can
it in my little bio.
find me in their bio. So yes.
So yes, totally recommend seeing those great couple goals coordinates because I'm jealous. I'm just kidding. I think they look wonderful. Yes. And we have one last intro to do. Am I going to do that? I did the correct direction.
Yes, in this direction. Hi, everyone. My name is Monty. I'm known as Monty G on all my social media, or my name Monty Giro on like my YouTube. So I got into Lolita first in 2013. I mainly wear the vague swastic area is my comfort zone personally. And then last year I got into Manhattan, so that's been really fun to do. I am bi, and my egg cracked last year. I'm a trans man. There we go.
And that's all you want to say? Yeah, perfect. We got
Thank you.
the whole gang here today. If you missed it, we're saying that since June was Pride Month for being gay, this month is to do crimes. Everybody do a crime in our honor. And one more time, our charity drawing is still open for the next 2 hours. So please either donate to your local LGBT organization or we're now adding in local abortion funds. Reproductive health is helpful for everyone and especially marginalized communities. And then send your receipt of that over to the Bay Area K email. There, the information is populated in the chat. Please do that. There are wonderful prizes that you can win from J Fashion Indie Brands. Love prizes. I love a free thing. I heard that you get a free donut from Krispy Kreme on the 4th, and I think I will be doing that.
Nice.
It's because I love the free flavors. Okay, clap. For our J Fashion Roundtable, we'll be talking about some J Fashion LGBT related topics. Oh, Bay Area K loves Costco samples. Yeah, I haven't been getting those so much just because of pandemic precautions, but I'd like to do a Costco little luncheon sometime. Okay, let's start out with our first prompt. We touched on this a little bit, but let's talk about how we started wearing J Fashion and what initially drew us to it. I can do a little starter. How did we start? I wish I looked at these before and kind of concentrated ahead of time because it's like, oh, big think. What drew me to J Fashion? I've always been a fan of fun clothes and dressing up in a fun way. Like from the time I was a wee one, not only playing dress up, but also I totally love making clothes for dolls. And also what I really liked as a youth was like layering tons of stuff and adding tons of accessories kind of in a Disney Channel original character kind of way. Yeah, just very ostentatious like that. So I've always had the taste for that flavor of fun fashion. And nowadays, I don't think it's J Fashion specifically, but fashion in general is just a very fun way to express myself and express identity to a certain extent. There's sort of a joke, I think, amongst bisexual people that you got to make your clothes like look more bisexual, right? I always see like adding like cuffs to stuff or like tucking stuff in as kind of a trope. What I like to have in particular is like kind of assert femininity in a way. Like this is a bit binarist, I'm gonna say, but sometimes I just don't feel very cute or girly, and I really want to assert that. What kind of dolls? Just Barbies. We're having a deep chat about Barbies in the SF.com Discord recently because of the upcoming Barbie movie.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'm so excited for that.
big Barbie fan. They have some crazy outfits in the preview pics, and I totally
Yeah, I
love
love
that.
the costumes.
Yes, fun fashion. Oh, is that a puppy?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hello.
It usually calms down if I put her on my lap. So this is Toto.
Hello.
No, this
Hi,
is Daisy,
puppy.
but I'm Dorothy today. So
Oh, fun.
Of course. Yes.
I love the tongue sticking out, and I totally love old pugs.
I know she doesn't have any teeth left, so there's nothing to hold this tongue in.
Little baby.
She's like
I love
2
grandma.
Anyways,
She's perfect.
he's gonna hang out.
He is perfect. What is
a
a hug?
unit. A unit.
Okay, who would like to tell us a bit about how they got into J fashion next?
I can go.
Yeah, tell me.
I was
I'm gonna sit
actually goth before I got into like J fashion or like outside of American perspective alternative stuff. Just a little wee baby bat trying things out, and I was like a really big tomboy when I was a kid. And I think as I got older, I was like, oh, maybe I would like to participate in femininity, but how can I do that in a weird way? Like you were saying, like signaling things, be like, how do I do that so they know it's not for anybody else? How can I find that? And I think goth was like dipping my toes into that first. And then like looking at goth blogs, there was, of course, Gothic Lolitas. And I was like, what's the stress? How do this? And now I'm here 13 years later.
Yeah, I think I got into Lolita fashion. Like, my friend of mine would bring GLBs to middle school, and I would look through them, and I was like, had my mind blown, basically. And so I started wearing it in like the late 2000s, like when the baby store opened in San Francisco, which was in 2009. So I started buying stuff from there, and then I think what drew me to Lolita fashion was I've always been really interested in like femininity as an art form, not so much as like a societal norm. And I also think there was a drag queen, I don't remember her name, forgive me, but she said that both drag and Lolita are alternative expressions of gender, and I was like, so it's very Lolita for me. I really enjoy old Hollywood, Rococo paintings, Renaissance, all that kind of stuff, very like antiquated artistic, super like hyper femininity. I really enjoy. So I'm Dorothy today, which is sort of a reference to historical queerness, which is I don't know, some people know the term friend of Dorothy. It's a term that you would use to ask if somebody else was also queer. So this is an homage to that.
Love it. And I love those ways of like explaining what I failed to do so, of like gender as like art and like asserting it's that's definitely the kind of vibe.
Outside of the societal expectations of a woman.
Yeah, like I'm feminine, but it's independent, it's strong, and it's just because I want to express something. Kind of same where the reason I really want to assert is because I was more tomboyish as a kid, and it wasn't like
folks were tomboys when they were kids.
I was a punk rocker gremlin back in the day. Still am, but
for me, it wasn't like by choice. It's just because my older siblings were both boys, and I became kind of lumped in. So I think for me as well, it's sort of like I'm my own person. Don't tell me what to do. It's sort of a strange rebelliousness there. Would anyone like to dive into their particular J fashion journey?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I discovered Lolita when I was in high school. I was a sophomore, and my friend in the robotics club was telling me that her mom was going to take her to the Starshine Bright store in San Francisco and take her shopping. And she was so excited. She's like, this is my favorite brand. And I remember she like pulled up the site when we were at a club meeting. We were like supposed to be working on something on our robot, and she like pulled up the site on the computer, and I was like, what is this? Like suddenly like everything in the world made sense. And it was just this thing that was this expression that I couldn't articulate before, right? Because I'd always been interested in expressing myself with clothes, but it was a similar thing where it was like I didn't know how to express myself in a feminine way without being sexualized. And that's really hard when you're a teenager, especially if you have like early development. And you know, people are weird and creepy. And so it was just this like light bulb moment that was so profound of like, oh my God, there's a way that I can express myself and be feminine without like feeling like I'm falling into these, you know, expected paths that society has laid out for me, and you know, all the baggage that often comes with that, as you know, a developed teenage girl. And it was just amazing. And so I ended up I kind of just been doing it ever since.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. I saw Allegra. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Allegra also matched. Did you flip your names?
I think
Successfully?
the mod did that, or somebody else did that.
Oh,
So
okay.
whoever did that,
Shout out to, I think it was Jess who did that. Perfect.
shout out, yes. Thank you.
Yeah, like expressing femininity in your own way, defying those expectations. Yeah.
Yeah, finding a version of femininity that works for you or does what you need it to do, and not just like, I'm gonna wear a bodycon dress and like highlights, which is great if you want to do that, but that's not everybody.
Yeah, exactly. I've definitely felt that kind of way where I had to meet an expectation rather than come from my heart and soul. So that's a fulfilling feeling, to be able to express your kind of true nature rather than doing what other people want to. Who else would like to speak? Monty, you were starting to talk.
Thank you. So thinking about it, what got me into J fashion, it started with a crush. Thinking about it, for a really long time, I was very conformative to how my mother raised me. So it took me a very long time to get any involvement in any sort of alternative fashion. But I knew really, really early on that I was bi. And so in middle school, I had a crush on this one girl, and I was so interested in everything that, you know, she was. I wanted to get into what she wanted. And one of the things she was into was the band Antique Cafe.
Yes.
And yes, so that's how I found out about Ashara K, and I found out about J fashion in general. And so I acknowledged it. I acknowledged its existence, all because she was just too damn cute. But it was later on that I found Lolitas on YouTube, in the YouTube community early on in around 2012, 2013, that something clicked in my head of like, wait, people can just wear this because they want to. They can just put it on. And that, on top of seeing how robust and active the community was, it was a really big, you know, it was really appealing to me because, of course, it's clothes, but, you know, it adds on to that, the fact that there's the whole J fashion community with it. So that sense of the clothes, the amazing clothes, the sense of community, was really what drew me in. Especially currently, I do find my interest in Lolita really interesting because even back then, even for the longest time, I find wearing most other dresses to be a little bit of an uncomfortable and dysphoric experience. But I feel like Lolita and a lot of J fashion in general, you know, it's just so out there compared to what's the norm. You know, it doesn't feel, you know, the same sort of constrictive. Very similar to, I believe it was Allegra who said it, it does feel a lot more of like an art medium to me than it does, you know, sort of an image that you make. And I think that really goes on, you know, with the overall message of J fashion, especially with Lolita in general, that it is all about expressing a feminine image completely on your own terms, you know, completely the way you want to do it. And yeah, that's really what it is for me. It's really nice. So thank you to that cute girl in middle school for getting me here.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, that's a big mood. Is like, oh, cute girl, I want to either be cute girl or get to know that cute girl.
Exactly.
Hi, Paulina, joining us now.
I got my time zone conversion wrong.
Oh, no. It's okay. Math is hard.
Damn time zone.
Okay, gays can't do math. Right?
Yeah, that's another good trope. Can't do math. I don't know if anyone can't drive. I walking way too fast. Sorry.
Yeah, Google Maps really needs like a straight people and a gay people walking time, because
I'm always having
30%
trouble
faster.
walk with straight people because I'm just like, no. They're like, why are you walking fast? Because
Got places to
that's how I
go.
walk. Yeah, I know.
Things to do.
Yeah,
Get
we
to
have
the
crime to do.
function. Okay, Lena, would you like to give an intro of yourself? Tell us whom you are. If you want to drop your social handle, you can. Pronouns, and how long you've been wearing J fashion.
Okay. Hello, I'm Lena. I use she, they pronouns. I run A.Gatto Designs, and you can find me on Instagram at a.gatto-getaway or a.gatto designs. I'm currently making a butt ton of gay shit right now because, I was busy in June, so I'm doing it in July because also, forget the celebrating the 4th. Anyway, I've been in J fashion since 2012. That's Lolita specifically. I've always worn alternative fashion. In middle school, I was a mall goth. As you do, shopping at Hot Topic every weekend, back when they were a strictly goth store. I identify as gender fluid. I got 3 looks, and that's it. I am either gay dad, thembo, or Lolita femme, and that's it.
Thembo, I like that
Thembo's
term.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
you touched on
explains
a
why
bit.
you're.
No, go ahead.
That explains why your leather OG look was just that good. That does explain it. You put your all into it. Yeah.
We touched on it a bit on one of our prompts, like how did you get into J fashion? I think we talked about how goth kind of that true like mall goth and alternative fashion really segued some of us into J fashion.
Also really into anime when I
Yeah.
was that same age range, and Borders rip. Somebody there, they had a copy of a Gothic and Lolita. Like, it was a book that was just street snaps. It was not the Bible, but somebody there knew of the Gothic Lolita Bible because they'd seen it at a comic book store that was in the same area that Blessed Tate's. They used to have like anime rentals, and they had a ton of Japanese imports. Yeah, Tate's, and that they were like, they had blockbusters but just anime. And I saw Sailor Moon Stars back in the day in the early 2000s because they had a bootleg fan dub copy of it. It was one of those kind of places.
Lena and I are Florida thems.
So I found GLBs in the 2006, but I never got into Lolita until I was an adult with adult money.
Oh, yep, I feel that.
Time to get into it.
Yeah. I think
The perfect
anime.
time to get into it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, when you got that money. I think Sailor Moon was something that made me want to like assert the girliness because they're always like, I'm pretty senshi and I have my girly heart and stuff like that. But they're also superheroes, so can defeat evil with your cuteness.
I was definitely more of a bookworm growing up, so I was like, so Sailor Moon I was like super late to, but I got super into Cardcaptor Sakura because I found the manga in like a Walmart, like the book section of a Walmart. I still like distinctly remember this. It was like the 4th volume too. I started in the middle. And that's really what like got me into alternative fashion, because I just saw all of like the lovely costumes that like Sakura wore, and I was just like, is there something where I could like wear this all the time? And then a couple years later, like early 2000s, I went into the Kinokuniya in San Jose, and I saw that they had like Vivi magazine and a couple other more mainstream magazines, but that catapulted me into like finding Lolita fashion eventually, like down the line. So yeah, like I also had like that similar like anime adjacent like intro to alternative fashion in like the 90s, and I just sat there and like I would sketch like a bunch of designs and be like, oh, if only I could wear something like this. And I actually found a couple of my sketchbooks from back then. I'm like looking at them and I'm like, this is basically like a pretty solid jumper skirt. Like I was like sitting here thinking about like Lolita before I knew there was like even something so like that is similar to it already existing and already being made. So that was fun.
Yeah, I always
Also,
like
the
the.
character is just like really queer, just all around.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
No straight character.
It is.
Yeah, a lot of those anime had a lot of either literal, like in the case of Sailor Moon, like literal sapphic relationships, or just like had very like super tender love between gals. I think
Yeah.
that's a thing, and a little inspirational. And yeah, all the ruffles and spangles of those costumes was cool to see. That hi puppy
For
again.
sure.
Um,
And
be
I
like,
related
oh, I
so
want
much
to
to
wear that.
Tomoyo having a crush on her girl best friend. So
I
that
I
was
appreciate that Sakura has like 8 different partners. Like
Oh,
however many. Sakura's truly the
Polly.
polyamorous icon.
Bay Area K is asking in the chat, is the San Jose Kinokuniya still a thing? Yes, it's at
it
the
is. I just went
Mitsuya
like last
Mall.
month.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, it's in
Still
Saratoga.
there.
The Bay Area K mods are speaking to having a conversation between themselves right now. Yeah, very wonderful. We touched on this a bit of how we personally express ourselves through J fashion. If there's anything anyone would like to add to that, maybe.
I already mentioned my 3 looks.
Right.
I think something that's talked about pretty commonly with Lolita specifically that Sarah mentioned before is like the non-sexual nature of it. And I think, at least for me, a lot of that feeling is like not having the clothes focus on what my body actually is, like being able to play with your silhouette. Like a petticoat completely like obscures that part of your body. And I think even in getting into OG recently, a little more complicated because you have to find things that fit in the way you want them to, and they mostly run smaller. But I think just playing around with your silhouette and being like, I can express whatever I want with my body without focusing on what my body actually looks like is really fun.
I can relate to that as well. Yeah, like maybe not as a kid, but once I hit puberty and stuff, started experiencing a bit of like body dysmorphia and being like, ugh, I don't like want to be a girl if this is what's happening with it. And a lot of J fashion gives you that flexibility to either play with sort of perceived gender and the expression of that, and then or like hide parts that maybe you're just not feeling at that moment.
Yep.
But
I do
anyone else?
feel you. Yeah,
I-
finding good OG shorts that fit you is it's such a hurdle to get over. But like once you do get it, it feels great. It's a
Yeah.
That's been something interesting to me about like aging. Like I'm 28, right? But I started when I was 15, so my body's obviously changed, since I was 15 years old. And like it's different, right? And so like the things that flattered me when I was younger, like sure they might, even if they might fit, like they just look super different on me. And so like how my expressions changed is different just because things look different on me. And so like the brands that I tend to go for, that like I think flatter like an adult's body are a little bit different now than when I was younger.
I was having a moment just recently since during the pandemic, I went from early 20s to now 25 plus. And so I hadn't really worn normie clothes since that time before. And then like recently since it's becoming safer to go out, I'm putting on these clothes. I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't fit. Is my body's different? Kind of, I think maybe a lot of people can relate to that. So
yeah, in particular, I'm thinking about the Innocent World tube. Like,
the
tube.
I've had many of it fights with the tube. Yes,
my tubeness has remained the same. More like other more fitted garments. I appreciate Lolita having some flexibility with shirring and also big poofy skirts. So at least that can remain more consistent. Poof. Lena, did you have something to add?
Well, in response to the Bay Area K mod request to do the 3 looks, I have done a photo set of my 3 looks on my Agato Getaway Instagram. I don't do TikTok. I could, in theory, do a reel. I've been trying to get better about posting my more masculine outfits. I tend to post 75 to 85% Lolita, and then like 20% Dembo, and then the remaining like 5% is my more math looks, because it is really like, look at this gay dad grilling.
Grilling. Do you wear like New Balance shoes while doing that?
Pastel versions of a very similar design, but it's like all button downs and like the length of the short and specific cut of the short is, and then fanny packs are a real big part of that too.
I love
Please,
fanny
I can
packs.
picture you like mowing a lawn in that fit.
I am good at barbecuing. The thing is that I'm polyamorous, and I am the only person in my polycule who can grill. I'm from Miami, and I assume that like my partner who's from Charleston, living in Charleston means you have just by living there you have a degree in history. Being in Miami, you automatically are good at grilling.
It's true.
I can also surf.
There's a whole South Carolina style of barbecue. I'm surprised that like your South Carolinian partner's not like super into it.
They just never learned. They just never learned.
I don't know either.
They're history buff. They do political science and history nerd and climate change, which is great stuff.
Okay.
I only date queer folks, so
they have a brain.
They have a brain.
Darn it. I also am the grilling partner. I don't know if you've seen that TikTok with the Reba song, like I'm a single mom who works 2 jobs. As like the friend is doing all the Korean barbecue grilling for all of the friends. That's me.
Nice.
Which you also lived in Miami, so
I did. Barbequeer.
Has anyone ever been the spider partner? Like,
oh yeah,
the one that collects the spider, like the one that is like designated spider collector.
That's me personally.
Well, see, the thing about me is I just let them be.
I do that too. I just
hang out. Build a nest in my room or whatever, and I'm like, okay, nobody go in this corner. I'm now fostering these babies. Nobody.
Spider's working over there, can't you?
Yeah. She's a single, hardworking mother. Leave her alone. Yeah.
Oh, so that's what you mean by
because I hate mosquitoes more and spiders.
Yeah. Oh, that's
I mean, bugs that will transmit diseases. I gotta draw a hard line. I gotta draw a line there. Ticks, mosquitoes, any sort of blood transmission thing. Not here for that.
Oh. See, I thought at first you meant like the person who removes the spider. No, removes the spider. That at first too. Like you are a spider. Is it like you have a web of your partners?
No, so I did mean the person that like, oh, someone finds a spider in the house and like who deals with it, and so like
dealing with in a non-violent fashion.
Yeah, I find them a little nice spot to hang out in, and out they go.
I get scared. I see spider and I go ah. Don't like it. Anything else to add about your expression with J Fashion? Anyone else? Or we have it covered?
I do like that we can kind of play with the silhouette of our body with a lot of alternative fashions, which is part of the reason why I've like kind of segued into longer dresses and stuff, because I like being able to just like disguise myself. And like I love like anything with big shoulder pads. Like I love big chunky shoes. I love like a layering in a way where it's all like you can't tell what's under here, and that's like kind of my favorite part about alternative fashion is that it like lends to a lot of that. So like I relate a lot to like either kind of being comfortable with how your body changes as you age, or just like wanting to do something different and mix it up every once in a while. I relate to both of those feelings. So yeah, well, that's all.
I love the mixing it upness. Yeah, that's a lot of fun too. Even though like I've said, I really like the femininity. Sometimes it's like, no, I don't want no one perceive me. I'm going to be a very rectangular, and I'm gonna put all my hair away, and I want to be like more neutral.
I just want to be a blob. Just amorphous.
Blob human. Amorphous, genderless blob.
Want to be an amoeba.
On the silhouette front too, I think like finally getting enough courage to dip my toes into OG. Like OG helped me realize I could present myself more masculinely. I think when I was younger, I always assumed like, well, I have like really broad hips, and it's like obvious that I have a feminine body underneath it. So like, why bother trying to express if it's not going to translate? And during the pandemic, I bought an OG set and I bought it in a size larger than I thought I would need it. And it was even one size larger than that. And seeing how that completely changed my silhouette when I actually wore it for the first time was like, oh, I didn't know I could actually look like that. I didn't know I could actually present like that. Like, that is possible for me. And I think that was when I was like, okay, floodgates are open, time to be a prince.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's really amazing how fit can really change like everything, or lack of a fit or whatever. I mean, that's still a silhouette though, really. I really think about Lolita as like a framework for self-expression. Like, you can take all the bits and pieces of it and sort of change them. Like, it's once you've been a Lolita for a long time, you can kind of tell when you're still in the ballpark of Lolita and when you're kind of exiting the ballpark of Lolita, which is also fine. But yeah, I think of Lolita as a whole as like a lens, I guess, for self-expression. Yeah. And also discovering fit. And like, I was telling them the other day, I'm like, if I could just look like the like icon on like the women's restroom, like the girl with like a little triangle and just like straight, like that's all I want to look like. Really, just like nebulous, like no, not really much definition, just like triangle. Just a
Little blank slate.
Translation of
Also in two different, also in two dimensions as well. Just
yes, exactly. But I also enjoy very flowy, also like princess kind of runaway princess is also like a big vibe of mine. But anyways, I could go on.
I feel like Lolita for me has almost become like a version of femme drag in that sense. It's very
yes,
in the
relatable
aspect of feminism.
Absolutely.
You know, most of my femme-leaning clothes is either Fairy K or Lolita, and I don't really have anything else in between.
Same, big same. Yep.
That's a good way of putting it.
Don't invite
like,
me to your weddings because I get so baffled. I don't know what to
Please.
wear. I can't
like,
operate.
don't want to wear the plain cocktail dress. Yeah, when I wear that kind of stuff, it's very like, this doesn't feel right. You gotta go like all the way. Yeah, that's a big move. Anything else we want to add about expression via fashion? Oh, we got it. Okay, I can introduce the next question we have. Let's talk about our experience in J fashion communities, either in real life or online, and if anyone has something maybe related to their queer identities as well.
I mean, we met because of Lolita,
which is pretty, pretty queer,
pretty gay. I mean,
gay agenda.
We were on a dating app for specifically female identifying folks called Her. Sponsor us? No, I'm kidding. And I saw, or I think you saw my profile picture first.
Both of us had like one single photo of like
Lolita.
Really casual
Lolita.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm
just
put
like
enough out here so you know.
If you know,
so much
you know.
I'm gonna get weirdos involved
too.
You know?
If you know, you know. If you don't know,
I completely know.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we started talking. Was like, are you wearing Lolita? Are you also queer? Do you want to?
Oh,
indeed.
Creating a bond with fashion. That's so special.
That's
Love that.
And so yeah. Outside of that, though, I think it's interesting and also just really fun how many queer people there are in J fashion in the West, or at least over here. It's nice, one, because it's just really fun to see everyone expressing themselves.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think, a good feeling, like Monty was saying about the community, that when you go to like a meetup, or if you like find other people as you're walking around San Francisco, it's generally like a safe and comfortable person to be around. Like, there's a certain level of like, oh, you too? That's great. And I really like that. And I think I'm only recently out as genderqueer, and I think like slowly building those like Lego blocks together over the years. But I think definitely for sure seeing how many different types of genders people are bringing to the table and like how they express their gender in J fashion really helped me be like, oh, okay, I think I'm going to join in on that too. Let's do that. That's good. I like that.
Yeah, there's a big overlap there, and I like the general feeling of like it's a place where you can be accepted for being a little kooky and expressing yourself in a way different from the norm.
It's cool because I think like as queer people, especially if like, you know, you might not have necessarily known when you were a child, but you might have known there's something different about you. And then I feel like, at least in my experience, and I've talked to other people for whom this was similar where like you know that you're a little bit different. You don't know why. Your family knows that you're a little bit different. They treat you a little bit different. And so I think, when you grow up with that lens, right? Like kind of that like context, and that's your role in society, or that's your role in your families. You're the different one. You're the weird one. And then you're just like, fuck it. Like why not wear weird stuff? Why not wear a velvet bonnet? Like, why not wear a huge dress? Like, what else are they gonna do to me? Like, you kind of just lose all fucks at that point. It's like, why not?
Societal expectations for me are very low, so I'm just gonna do whatever I want.
Yeah. Like, they already think I'm weird. They already like have all these, ideas in their head about why I'm different, or like what my motives are because I'm different, or whatever. Fuck it. Like, we're just gonna do what we want. And so it's really
different.
fun. It's fun coming to the community to meet other people who are like that, who have had similar experiences, and have come to a similar conclusion, right? Where it's just like, well, I'm gonna have fun. Like I have nothing left to lose in terms of like people thinking things about me. I'm just gonna have fun. It's like not fatalist in a way, right? Where you're like giving up this sense of control over what people think of you, but in a freeing way. It's not like, oh well, people think this about me. It's a burden. It's like, well, people think this about me. I'm gonna fucking do what I want. It's very freeing. It's fun.
There's a lot of queer joy in the communities. It's really awesome. Really great to see.
I think it's also a really useful kind of filter to sort of filter out people that you don't want to be fraternized with. If I'm like dressed like this and someone on the the outside world is like, what are you doing? It's like, okay, so I don't want to know you. So like, and even like the people that don't necessarily know Lolita fashion, there are people that you can tell just like get it. They're like, oh, you're wearing something that makes you happy. I love that. And it's like, okay, you're cool. Even if you don't know what Lolita is, like, okay, we can be friends. But I think
you're on the right vibes.
You're on the right vibes. Yeah. So I also think wearing alternative fashion is really useful for default. Like if I see somebody else wearing alternative fashion, I'm like, oh, okay. I can see you from over there. All right, good. Let's you get it. I feel safe.
Sending the right signals to your detectors. Yeah. I'm like, I'm detecting something for you.
I think the coolest aspect of like the larger like J fashion community too has been like I kind of can see I have a friend almost everywhere. Like Sarah's always like, come up to me in Vermont. Like the place I'm currently renting, I'm renting from a Lolita friend. Like I've just like floated around. I've like couch surfed. I've like explored new countries, and it's like in large part because of the J fashion community, and that's just so rad. And I don't even consider myself a particularly trusting person, so it's like really nice that we're kind of given this space where we can feel so comfortable with each other. And yeah, it's kind of I love how gay we are. It's great.
Yeah, I'm not super social on my own. I've always been very introverted and very shy, but in the J fashion community, I feel I'm able to flourish more.
Yeah, there's like a level of safety there, I think. It's like, okay, like you're weird, I'm weird. Like there's a little bit of trust established just by you knowing that, you're kind of into the similar thing. That has a high level of buy-in, not just in terms of like financial costs, because these clothes get a little pricey, but like in terms of like social costs, right? Like if you're gonna be wearing these things out and about, or like posting them online where people might see you, like you're already kind of like, being vulnerable in that way. So it's cool.
I think it can be really fun too, is like beyond just like liking the same clothes, is a lot of times people have overlapping hobbies too, or like the themes of a meetup sometime. Like we went to a tea party recently that was hosted at like an old historical house. And I was like, yeah, if I wasn't into J fashion, would I have gone to see the historic house with like 6 people I didn't know, But I had a great time, and like it as that linking concept, like, oh, okay, this was a really fun time that I might not have otherwise had.
Putting up those new experiences, either new places and new old houses. Anything else people want to add about community experience?
I think I can add something, if that's all right. I think maybe something that is significant to me going through J fashion through these years is, I guess, sort of the before and after, because I did take a break from J Fashion for a little while, so I do like to compare a lot between the time that I first got into it and the time that I got into it again. And I think a lot about the sort of state, the sort of energy of the communities that I was in person when I was into Lolita. And I feel like maybe I just got some bad luck or something early on with my in-person communities, because it was, at least I personally found it a little difficult to fit in, which I think feels weird because you're already going into a niche, community together. But I guess it felt really strange because at the time one couldn't really feel open about talking about your orientation, talking about your gender. It just wasn't really, there's just not as much, like was stated earlier, queer joy, that was just open and on display as I feel like it is now. But now it's great, now with my local con, I forgot to mention, I'm in France, by the way, I'm in the Toulouse com. Now it's like I look at my current com and it's like I think like half of us are trans and even more so are like varying flavors of queer, and it just feels really great and it's just a part of it. So it's maybe it was just a matter of luck at the time, but I do feel like there was a really, really wonderful sense of evolution there that I feel like is a really big plus, for the J Fashion community.
Yeah,
I'm glad you were able to find your people in the end.
Definitely have.
I know that the San Francisco com was, I remember like 10 years ago, they weren't as welcoming as they are now. And
It's changed a lot.
It's changed a lot. And I really think Bay Area K is doing an awesome job of being inclusive. You guys are
That's good.
And we're very lucky to have you guys putting
For
together
sure.
so much awesome stuff for us all of the time. So we love you guys.
Yes, we do try to make an inclusive space. I'm glad that it comes across, and that there's been positive change on that front.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thinking about it, the early 2010s is a little bit of a hard time to be a Lolita. In retrospect,
it was rough there. Yeah.
It definitely feels like there is more space for queer joy in the Lolita community. Like you can look at the success of Belladonna's ice cream candy shop and know everybody's gay. You can look at how the rise of the stereotype of a Lolita girlfriend and having that kind of sapphic joy in Lolita really, I think, also kind of paved the way, because I think that was a post-2010 kind of thing that happened online and then just spread, and now it's the goal. I know that I myself found 2 partners through the Lolita community, and I love them dearly. So,
more Lolita love story.
Yeah, I got 2 Lolita love stories.
That's so incredible. Like I feel like I've also had mixed feelings about the Lolita community. Like maybe 10-15 years ago, it was pretty rough out there, but I do think like the wider J Fashion community has just been a lot better and more inclusive. Like there were just a lot of issues, like a lot of compounding intersectional issues with the community, and I mean there still are. Like if you go to the wrong parts of the internet, or walk into the wrong part of town, the Lolita town, so it's just like but I think Bay Area K mentioned it, like sometimes it's just important to create those spaces for yourselves, and it's really cool that we've all kind of found our own way to like find that space that gives us comfort.
I love that in recent years we've kind of pushed the bigots underground.
Yes.
If you ever pop into some of those bad places online, there's a lot of sentiment about like, well, my com is full of,
LGBT people.
Insert lots of awful language.
So I can't be myself and speak my mind anymore. I'm like, good.
Get out. Yeah. Exactly. We cultivate the space that we want and tell people who have a problem with that to get lost. That's your problem.
Yeah, I don't want them to feel safe expressing their bullshit around us. Like, even if I can tolerate it, I don't want someone else to have to hear that.
No,
Like,
yeah.
I'm glad they're a little scared, a little intimidated. Makes me feel good.
Threatening them, the gay agenda.
Yeah, that's our agenda.
For sure. Any more thoughts on community? Or we can move on to our next prompt if we want. Sorry for stretching. I get icky. What is our experience with public perception? I think we all kind of touched on this a little bit. Public perception and gender.
Oh, go ahead. I don't know if someone wants to talk.
Oh, I think you're good.
Was it me? Okay, I'll continue. Public perception. I think, especially being a classic Lolita, I feel like each different genre of Lolita usually garners different reactions. But I can only speak from my experience as a classic Lolita. It's either like people who get it and they're like, "Oh my God, you look gorgeous! This is beautiful! I wish I could wear something like that." And then I go like, "You can, and you should." Or as a classic Lolita, I get a lot of, "Oh, I miss when women used to dress like that." And then I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No. Big red flag. Goodbye, sir, or ma'am, or whoever. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I've had the unfortunate experience of some people being like, "Oh, this is trad fashion,"
Ooh.
or you're being modesty to like to be like, to hide your
speaking of
self in a non-sexual way,
you don't want to go into, not the trad wife Lolita world. You don't know.
It's like, no,
oh God,
full offense.
Oh God.
And even though it's there's a lot of people talk about modesty, and like even though it's modest in the terms of skin coverage, sometimes it's like, first of all, it doesn't have to be, depending on style. Second of all, it's not modest in like how out there I'm being and how decked out and
presented.
And stuff.
It's quite loud.
Yes, it is loud.
It's loud. I'm taking up space and my presence is known. Yeah, I'm not trying to be demure in any way, aside from perhaps being more covered.
I always like have to fight this like combating attitude of like, I'm not dressing in this for attention, but also like as like, this intersectional person that I am, like a lot of people don't take me seriously or don't pay attention to me. So when I wear alternative fashion, it's like, nope, you've got to perceive me now. You have to like acknowledge me. And I've like been in places where like, I'd be wearing like professional attire in like muted colors, and literally like I'd be sitting there actively trying to get someone's attention and just constantly walked past, or the people next to me will get assisted. Like if they're trying to help me get attention, like that happens a lot. And when I dress in alternative fashion, there's like this extra like, nope, you've got to perceive me now. And so like I've kind of like battled with that, because it's like, no, I don't do this for attention, but also I kind of do, because otherwise I'm just going to be fully ignored. So it's kind of like there's a level of attention I want that's somewhere in between these two poles, right? And I guess it's just the regular amount of attention that like a cis straight person would get, right? So
like wanting to be perceived in your kind of controlled and independent way. It's like, I don't want you to see me as just like some girl, I guess. I want you to see me as this loud kind of expression of my personal self.
It's also like kind of being loud in taking up your space, because you have to acknowledge it when something is so loud in the room, and our clothing is very loud.
Yeah.
I'm the elephant in the room.
I feel like my personal interactions with like the public and being perceived is so like it controlled in a way, because I work from home. So I either spend time with my partners, I'm at conventions, or I'm at like my queer happy hour where they absolutely love the crazy clothes I wear. I was wearing Moss Badger's, my wife's lover's dress to happy hour yesterday. And they're like, oh my God, cats, this is amazing. So it's nice. I feel like there's both positive and negative interactions when you go out with the public, but because I so finally control, especially in this day and age, I so finally control what type of leaving the house I do.
Yes.
You know, it's like the perception around me is always going to be positive, just because I limit myself to those spaces where I know it is going to be a positive and safe interaction.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I often find I get like the kind of right interaction, or one that I would want to have from other queer people, and often like at drag events, or people who are fans of drag, because they're like, oh yes, you're slaying, or something like that. So yeah, it's like I'm not just trying to be like a little dainty thing. It's really, I'm trying to be out there. Anything else on public perception anyone wants to add?
So I live in this really small town now, and it's interesting because small town, you know, it's just a little different. But like, there's a community of Mennonites in this town, and so sometimes I'm like, I wonder if like people think like people who don't pay attention, I wonder if they think that like I'm like in their community because I'm wearing like a bonnet and like I'm very covered, because they wear like kind of historical clothing in a way, and they drive all black cars, and it's very like, you know, kind of uniform in their appearance, and I'm like, like, not affiliated, but I wonder.
Yeah,
there's a huge Amish community where I used to live, and I actually got that a couple times, like, oh, are you Amish? And I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
no, but
yeah, I've gotten that a few times too. If I'm like a more like conservative Christian, or like a Mormon or something, and I'm like, no.
I'm so glad you say that.
This is my girlfriend. Hi.
Hey. We're being gay.
That's actually one reason why I kind of want to get, or I am getting my like nose pierced, because then it's like, okay, well, I can wear these like, you know, historical, these, you know, very rich materials, these kind of historical cuts and accessories and stuff like that, and then there's a little bit of like more modern styling there, and so that kind of separates the it might like break the immersion in a way, which is what I want, because I don't necessarily want to be associated with tradwives or like high demand religious groups, right? So it's like, you know,
I think
it breaks the immersion, and it's cool for that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think you did a similar thing with your eyebrow slit too, because at work you have to wear a pretty basic like lab coat. I couldn't have any piercings anymore. No piercing. Food, so can't be risking that. But I was lamenting to Allegra, like, oh, I don't really have a way to express that anymore. And she was like, why don't you just cut your eyebrow for fun? And I was like,
so smart.
Yes, break the immersion.
Yes, me too on those parts. I really want to get a nose piercing. I don't, how do you do that safely in a pandemic? But it's like, yeah, nose piercing, and I don't care if tattoo show, I want to get more. Have an undercut, things like that, where you're like, no, it's not, I'm not about being out with them.
I think when I'm not wearing Lolita, my it's very much like, if you're a straight person, I look straight, but if you're a queer person, I look queer, which is a very interesting line to walk. Like I think was it Monty or was it Avina that was saying no, I think it was, anyways, about like we like doing like a cuffed pant. No, I think it was Monty doing a cuffed pant, or like a tote bag, or tucking my shirt into my pants. You know,
details.
It's very that, yeah. And like gay people were like, oh yeah, or like wearing like slacks and then like loafers, like penny loafers, like grandpa shoes, and then like a button-up shirt.
Yeah.
And people just think like I'm a well-dressed lady, that the queer person's like, oh, that's a gay.
Exactly.
It's very that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm paying attention to these things in a very purposeful kind of way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's interesting too that there's different interaction, since we really tend to go out together. That sometimes it can be like a nice multiplier of like, oh, 2 people wearing fun clothes, and then people get like extra excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I feel like sometimes, or increasingly as I wear OG, if I'm going out with Allegra and she's wearing like Lolita and I'm wearing OG, people will look at her and they'll be like, okay, you're a girl, I get it. And they'll look at me and be like, I don't know what's happening here though, I'm confused. Like a lot of times I think my OG outfits are met with confusion of like, I'm not really quite sure what's going on here, as opposed to if I'm out in the leader, they're like, oh, okay, you're just a goth.
Pretty girl.
That's fine, I can deal with that.
Are you a Blood Boy cosplayer? Like, no. That was a high
compliment I got in Pirate OG.
Yeah.
I was like, no,
high
sir,
praise,
but thank
no.
you. I will take that deeply into my heart.
Yeah.
I'm an incomprehensible experience, and that's how I'm trying to be.
I think that's my new goal, to be mistaken for a Hatsune Miku cosplayer.
Oh!
I love that.
There have been some Miku Lolita collaborations. I think Putumayo had one.
Oh,
it.
that's
Actually,
so dope.
Like Vocaloid.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good fashion. Love that shit.
I've been asked if I'm a Disney princess, like going to the
Yeah.
hospital to like entertain sick
Me too.
children. I got that
I
a
get that
couple
a lot.
times, and I was like, no, I'm gonna go shopping, which just sounds so
Yeah.
bad. Because, like, going to
I'm going to CVS.
I'm not a good person. Just kidding. No,
You are a good person.
I'm
It's
joking.
weird since like coming to Vermont. So when I was living in California, I was living in the Bay, and I would get a lot of people like, oh, are you doing X activity? Like, are you going to an anime convention, or are you going to a play, or are you whatever? And here, like Vermont is so casual and so dressed down that people are like, oh, like what's going on, or like they either like just ask what's up, or they just like, oh, I like your outfit, because Vermont is also very eccentric and very weird. Which is great. I love it. That's why I'm here. And so it's really interesting, like being in an environment where there were more opportunities for like dressed up, more formal occasions, and people would like help me with assumptions. And then here it's just like, huh, okay. Like, no one says anything. It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I am finding like more and more, especially with talking to more Lolitas online, and especially with having moved to like the other side of the world, is that the location, even down to like just the town that you're in, can really change the reception that you get when you're dressed up.
Totally.
My original comment also, I was born and raised in Hawaii, so that's where I was before. And I found it really unusual at first that I was hearing all these things about Lil Bo Peep, are you in a play, yada, yada, yada. Because just in general, at least in Honolulu, people are nice, but they're not really nosy. They don't really, go up too much. So even, if I was out dressed at the mall, all poofed up, nobody would really bother you. Nobody would really come up to you. Even when we were out in meets, like out in hordes of petticoats, nobody would really say anything. And that all changed for me when I moved over here to this neighborhood in France. And it was like a complete 180. People like to share their opinions with you. So it's been quite interesting to deal with that. And most of the time that I get dressed up, especially in Lolita, most of the time, if it's not for a meet, it's for grocery shopping, since I also work at home. So that's been fun. Let's see, I think the strangest thing that I'm still trying to get my head around is that I've gotten the most cat calls in old school. Like, it's unusual to get in any sub-style. Don't get me wrong, but like that one, I just, it's so consistent and it bothers me. I don't want to find out why, but it just, I don't understand it.
If you're doing black and white, I could get the kind of like maid connotation of black and white coloring. I could kind of see that, but
and maybe a ruffly headdress.
Yeah, maybe.
So yeah.
But still, I mean, I think aside from comments, I'm mostly just get people taking photos. I think people are so taken aback when I go, "Hey, you need to ask first," and they go, "Oh my gosh, this girl in a dress is mad at me," and I'm like, "Yeah,
I'm a human being."
This girl wearing a granny's wallpaper print is like yelling at me, and I'm like, "Yes, I am."
Absolute audacity.
Yeah.
Why is this grandma so aggressive?
Why is this grandma so aggressive? Like, if I came out and started chasing them, but yeah, we get photos, but I'm the one between the two of us that will go and yell at strangers for being disrespectful. But
good.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like hosted a meetup in front of a lottery, and they thought that we were like promotional people for the lottery.
Yes.
So like literally like hordes of people started like lining up to take photos of us.
Oh, no.
And like while we
my
were trying to
God.
take our group shot, and like thankfully like the moment I was like, I kind of like dispersed the group and I'm like, hey, like why are there so many of y'all? They're like, oh, you're not like paid to be here. And we're like, no. And they're like, we're so sorry. And they like immediately like scattered away.
Okay, well at least they were honest and
was-
probably patient. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a weirdly. That's like one of my better, like, funnier stories. Like, there's too many negative ones, but I'm trying not to do that right now. But my one sadness is that lottery really should have left us like a bunch of free macarons, because I definitely saw people like go in to buy stuff after they saw us like crowded around. So I'm like,
Free promo,
we
yeah.
we
Yeah.
We should
inadvertently were
commission.
promo. Give me free macarons. But
Yeah. This has happened to our com often as well. Like when we're at the Cherry Blossom Festival lately, when we're at museum exhibits. Once we're at the Kate Spade store, they thought we were, similarly, like we're there to promote. I don't know.
As a Kate
They
Spade
get-
influencers.
Yeah, I should be like, give me that promo.
yeah, I want a free Kate Spade bag. Give that to me.
Yeah.
I'll stand there for a free bag.
We were at the Winchester Mystery House,
yes.
and you were like a haunted
Ooh.
surgeon, and I was like a haunted nurse. We dressed. This was several years ago. It's like 2019 or something. And someone was like taking pictures of me, and I was like, "Oh, you need to ask." And they looked like so confused. And he was like, "What? What?" And I was like getting like upset. And then I realized I was like, "Oh, he probably thinks I'm like one of those like wandering around like actors or something."
Yeah.
Especially it was around Halloween season.
It was around
so he was like,
Halloween,
this could only
too.
be one thing.
Yeah.
So how could you be
Yeah,
mad?
we went to the Winchester Mystery Haunted House experience or whatever. And I was like, sorry.
At least
had
that's
that
somewhat
happen too.
understandable. Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
spooky. Being
I was-
spooky at Halloween time can be
I was there
dangerous.
like in the summer years and years ago, and someone like asked me where the bathroom was, like, and they're like, "What do you mean you don't know?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Yeah, that happened
I
to
don't
me
know
at
where
RVR, actually. People were like, you work here? Can you tell me this is? And I'm like, I don't know. Why would the casino hire some? I was wearing Alice in Wonderland cord. And I was like, for what reason would they hire me? But anyway. Any other thoughts on public perception?
Oh, just another dumb anecdote. When I used to wear Decora, people thought I worked at the Claire's.
Oh, okay.
I can see
Somewhat
that.
understandable.
Makes sense. Yeah.
You're like, look at
But
all
I
the
was like-
accessories you can buy.
Except I never bought them from Claire's because they were overpriced.
Yeah,
Yeah, but like,
So I was
buy-
like,
buy 3 get
you
1
work
free.
at Claire's, can you afford all that clothing? I don't know.
Claire's
Decora's
gonna
like
hire
way too
you.
nice for Claire's.
What's that?
Decor is like way too nice for Claire's. Like Claire's could never.
No.
Shots fired at Claire's.
Claire-
Claire's is too minimalist.
Ooh,
Claire's is minimal.
not loud enough.
The most
Not loud enough.
It's true. It's true.
Any other thoughts on public perception? Are we good? Good. Okay. We've touched on this as well. J fashion being kind of, or a lot of the styles we're into, like Lolita, being kind of femme presenting fashion. Do we have any thoughts on that? I know I mentioned, and we've also sort of asserted the fact where it's doing either femininity in your own way or doing like very aggressive, kind of over the top, for me, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think for me, presenting extremely feminine, and I do identify as a woman, but I think there was a lot of confusion when I came out as gay, because it was very much my parents like, how can you be gay if wearing a dress? Yeah, it's very that, like, oh, you don't look gay. And I'm like, literally, I go to drag shows all the time. All of my other friends are queer. Like, how have you not figured this out? Yeah. And I think because I was always very interested in like very like old Hollywood, like glamorous type of fashion and stuff. Just like the idea of femininity, not necessarily like the reality of being a woman in society. I'm like not as jazzed about that situation. But yes, I think just a lot of confusion of like, you know, your hobbies are like cross stitching and you like wearing like gingham. Like why not straight? What straight person do you know who does that? Like, what?
Yeah.
I love that we've taken over all the grandma hobbies. That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Like gardening, homesteading.
Grannies know how to do
hobbies.
right. They know how to turn it up. So taking it for them.
Yes, I agree with the doing it on your own terms, being feminine in your own special way.
Reclaiming hyper feminine stuff.
Yes, reclaiming. Oh, that's a good way of putting it.
But yeah.
What is agriculture goth? Is that when you have like this like a scythe and it's not only for gothing, but it's for cutting the grass.
My like style's been going towards like Western cowboy goth recently, but I feel my like personality going towards like redneck Americana goth, but like you know, acknowledging that we're a colonialist society and that we've done a genocide and that, you know, all the things, but like taking the Americana from the rednecks, you know, like the bad ones, right? Like I know that that term is kind of having a rebirth these days with like the labor movement and all that, but like, you know, taking it from like those people and like, you know, we can have our own Americana, and it's fun.
That is excellent. It's reminding me of the Black Ribbons Guy Fieri Lolita. Oh my God, yes. Also very reclaiming Americana for sure.
She's planning to release that too.
I know. Also, I see that Barry Kay has said that we're gayifying American Western, but the truth of the matter is that we're taking it back because cowboys were almost always gay. Because there weren't a lot of women out there, and a lot of them settled down with other men. It was a very gay time in the American West. So
what was that gay cowboy movie recently?
It's Clint Eastwood's fault that it's not.
True, yeah.
And Clint Eastwood's fault that it's not gay anymore. Yeah. I think any group of people who has like been marginalized from society, either electively or not, I think can be read as very queer. Like pirates, like cowboys, like I don't know, vampires. Vampires. Well, I mean, arguable. But
vampires never stopped.
That's true. Vampires started queer and never stopped being queer. Good for them. I think the word I used to use a lot when I was younger, trying to describe what I liked about Lolita, was otherworldly. Which, like, now when I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that was really queer. I was like, how to be feminine, but like off of this planet, you know? And I was like, oh yeah, that could have been a sign that there was some gender stuff going on.
Mm-hmm. Had a gender or two out there. Any other thoughts about J Fashion being femme presenting? Yes, no? Okay. Otherwise, we can move on to, this is a topic that Avina brought up about being non-binary in the fashion and about androgyny as well.
Yeah, so really, like, I feel like this is a thing that is discussed a lot, and non-binary folks just don't owe anyone androgyny. And I feel like there's a lot of people who are like, oh, like, you're non-binary, but you wear, like, all these like frilly clothes, and I'm like, yeah, so like why is being non-binary somehow defaulting to being more masculine? It's like I've had a lot of people who are like, oh, so you're gonna cut all your hair off now, and I'm like, wait, what? Like I'm just non-binary, like and I think, yeah, like I'm just here, I'm just defining my own expectations for myself, and yeah, it's just like I think that's just kind of the main point I wanted to make, because I think a lot of folks have a hard time like marrying the very like hyper femme aspects of a lot of J fashions with like not identifying as a woman. So like it's just like, you know, it's fine. Like this is all performance anyways. We talk a lot about how like being Lolita, like being in like certain J fashion styles is very much like wearing drag. Like it feels like that, and there's a reason why. It's because, you know, none of the stuff really matters. It's whatever makes your eyeballs happy. It's whatever like makes your body happy when you put it on. Just wear what you like. And I mean, I think that's another reason why I really like alternative fashion, is because there's this like crux of wearing what you like at like the center of it all. Yes. And like long before I knew how to like verbalize my sexuality or my gender, I knew that I just wanted to present the way I wanted to present, and alternative fashion gave me those tools, and eventually I developed the vocabulary around it later. So yeah, that's all. That was the point I wanted to make.
Yeah, gender is fake, and
it's fake.
Do whatever the fuck you want.
I love that sentiment. Yeah, I was like such a huge tomboy growing up, and I would wear like I basically exclusively wore boys' clothes growing up, and and, you know, when I got a little older, I wanted to like express myself differently, but then moving from like basically being kind of like very androgynous looking, and like being treated as such in public, to like, okay, well, if I want to dress femininely, what does that mean about the way people are going to treat me? What does that mean about my role in society? And what does it mean about all the baggage that comes with like suddenly wearing like women's or girls' clothes? And alternative fashion was such a breath of fresh air there because it was like it's feminine, you know, if you choose for it to be, but it's so different and so unusual that like I don't feel like it's come with that baggage, right? And so that was like really helpful for me as like a growing person, like developing my own identity as a teenager, to be like, okay, well, like I can try these things and it feels a lot safer for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also like an important thing to comment on. Like, there's a bit of a double standard for AFAB folk that like people who are AMAB can get away with, oh yeah, they're just wearing a dress because they're non-binary. But it's like the second somebody who's AFAB puts on a dress, it's like, oh, I thought you weren't a girl anymore. And at some point, it would be amazing if society could separate gender from clothing, because clothing itself doesn't have a gender. The person who's wearing it may have a gender. I don't know. I'm also ready to throw the whole concept of gender out of the window because it's trash. But
gender is fake and clothes are just fabric. Like,
it's totally fake. And like I feel like now as like more and more people are like starting to hear the word non-binary, they're just creating a trinary with it. And I'm like, no, like,
yes, the three genders, male, female, non-binary. It's like, no.
Yeah, and every time I see those check boxes, I just cringe. Like all my like I just curl up into a little ball and take a nap because I'm just like, no, it doesn't work that way. But
they're just looking for like, I think like this is maybe a little cynical, but I feel like it comes down to like on an individual level, people just trying to analyze and label you, and then on like a more societal level, people trying to market to you. Like these damn millennials, they're washing machines. Like they don't have gender roles anymore, so we can't sell them like washing machines, right? Like there's
just
this big
make everything in lavender, and I'll buy it. It has nothing to do with what checkbox.
Lavender. I think it's that. Yeah,
just lavender.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it can be. A lot of people experience like gender euphoria, especially like during transitioning or things like that. So there's sort of a balance to kind of find, like, it's fake, but also you can, what that means is you can kind of self-define it, I think, and express it in yourself.
I heard someone define it as it's as real as money is, where it's like money has, it's not like, right, like we have socially given it value.
Yes.
It's not like you can't measure it in terms of like a naturally occurring thing, right? Like the same way you can measure gravity, right? It doesn't exist that way, but we have given it social value, so therefore like you have to navigate it socially. And you know, to some people it means nothing, and to some people it means everything. And like it's funny to me, for a lot of the people for whom it means everything, they haven't chosen to assign that much value to it. They just like, that is just how they live their life. And it's like, oh, well, you know, I was born with this, you know, set of genitals, and so therefore my milestones are A, B, and C. And their whole life is their gender, but they don't necessarily realize it. So even if gender is really important to you, it's fun. And I think it's really cool that a lot of people have that importance for it, but they've decided why it's important to them, and like, and how it's important to them, and how it like impacts their life and all that. Like, that's super fun.
In that aspect, gender is very similar to religion, where I can see why some people really like it is a positive force in their life, but also it can be perpetually toxic in many ways. And it's not for everyone. You're not required to have it. And it is important to some people, and it definitely has its place and its role.
All about the balance and about the significance that it has to your life. And, you know, that's just how it should be. It should be left to be, you know, how you find it significant with yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah. It should be more about how it's up to you rather than what society is dictating.
100%.
I was talking to Ori about this the other day, but this is a much larger conversation. But I feel like that our like concept of gender and sexuality has like really expanded a lot over the last like even like 5-10 years, and especially with the internet and things and information traveling much more quickly, and people being able to express themselves on a much larger platform. I feel that the language around gender, sexuality, identity, presentation is trying to catch up to that right now. And so there's a lot of terms being created, and some of them are sticking, some of them are not sticking. So I feel like right now there's just a lot of terminology happening, and we're just kind of experimenting as a society, as queer folk, to figure out what works for us and what needs to be changed, what needs to be thrown out, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be added. So I think there's just a lot happening, like, linguistically right now, which is super interesting. So I think I'm sort of at the point where I'm like, whatever you want to label yourself as, I'm chilling. Like, if that's what works for you, hell yeah, you know. Yeah,
it's evolving.
I think that's one of the nicest parts of just using the term queer if you're comfortable with it. It's like, oh, that can be your sexuality, that can be your gender, that can just be a nebulous void around you, you know. And it's basically at that point, it's like, well, I'm communicating to you that I'm not straight, or maybe I'm not cis. But if you want to know any more details, you have to actually get to know me, which is a lot easier than trying to find a single word that encompasses the entirety of your experience.
Yeah, for a long time I just used the label queer because I was just like, I don't really know. I don't know what's going on. Like, I feel a lot of, like, I don't feel comfortable. Like, I know I'm not straight, and I'm not sure what's going on gender wise. So that's another part of, like, it's up to you to kind of figure yourself out and define it yourself.
Yeah, I definitely think I might be, like, in the overall minority. I'm not sure the minority in terms of, like, the folks that are here right now, but, like, I've never really wanted to, like, figure out the that applied to me. Like, it's just not something I'm not interested in. Like, I just know how I feel, and, like, I appreciate that, like, you know, pan, bi, demi, like, all of these other terms exist. Same with, like, all these many other terms for genders. But for me, I'm just happy saying queer because it just kind of signals that I'm not heteronormative, I'm not cis, like, and everything else is just something I just don't feel like worrying about. And that's valid too. But I do feel like there's a lot of, like, push in, like, the larger community to be like, oh, well, like, you know, where do you fall under this umbrella? Like, or like, can you be a lesbian if you, like, have attraction to, like, this gender? And I'm just like, I don't want to really sweat it. Like, and I think, like, that's also something that is healthy to, like, maybe discuss and, like, think about, is just, like, being, like, not as obsessed with the label as well. Like, it's fine if it's like, it's kind of like what, like, Lena said about religion. Like, it's kind of like, if that's something that makes you happy, like, go for it. It's not something I particularly care for, so I won't really elaborate past that point. Like, you know, I'm queer, and, you know, I know I'm not a man or a woman. That's kind of it for me. So
yeah, it could be kind of up to you on, like, how much you want to communicate or have the language to communicate something, versus, like, I'm not communicating anything specific, or, like, I don't want to share specifics. Yeah, it's just, I think it's more of a language thing almost.
Yeah, in terms of, like, personal symbology, like, that's why I identify the most with, like, the rainbow flag, because, you know, like, I think, like, by definition I would fit, like, pansexuality the most, but I also, like, don't really fall under any traditional gender norms, and I kind of just do whatever the fuck I want. And so, like, I don't know, like, the rainbow flag is fun to me because it's, like, kind of everything, right? Like,
yeah,
it is,
a big spectrum of everything.
Yeah, like, it encompasses, like, how I feel about myself, and my, you know, my attraction to other people, and my experience with the way that I fit into society, and, like, the communities I've formed, and right. So it's just this really broad spectrum of, like, the whole queer experience, right? So that's personally why, like, that if I were to pick, like, one of the flags or symbols or whatever to, like, identify with, it would definitely be that one.
Also, full disclosure, I pick my flags based on, like, vibe and aesthetic. Like,
that's so valid.
I mean, that's a good way to go about it.
I'm just like, you know, I'm vibing with the pan flag today. Like, the bi flag is kind of where it's at today. And
I love that. That's so good.
The pan flag is also, like, peak passion. Like, design is my passion, like graphic design, because it's magenta, cyan, yellow.
Oh yeah.
Yes. CMYK gays. CMY gays.
On what Avina was saying before about non-binary folks not owing people androgyny, I think I went in a funny circle with that because I started questioning my gender around the same time that sort of thought was really starting to hit the mainstream, and so I was seeing it a lot. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm just an androgynous person, or someone who likes androgyny, so then I'm definitely probably not actually genderqueer or anything. And I think seeing so many different presentations and ways of being non-binary in this community, and just be like, oh, okay, it's really not about the exterior then no, I'm genderqueer. This is like, I can be solid and firm on it because clearly all these other people are also doing things, and that's, yeah. So I think in a circle roundabout complex way I made it, I was like, oh yeah, no, that's great.
That's like the
On the
magic
roundabout,
of growth,
you're
right?
exit you need to get off. Exactly.
Mhm. On that note, oh, sorry, Lena. Oh my god.
Question. I own 2 of Puvithil's pan fly crystal heart necklaces. If you ask me if I own it, the answer is yes. I have 52 of these stupid necklaces. So
Sorry, what?
Do you have all the colors?
Sorry, what?
I have the largest collection of the Crystal Heart series outside of Poovy's house.
Nice.
By like twice the next person below me.
Like a 4 magnitude.
Keeping the brand alive.
The envy. Puvicell brand whore, let's go.
I've been buying them since she first came out. So that's like, 4 to 5 necklaces a year, maybe, I think. Oh, no, it's not been 10 years since she put them out. But I also, it's like, it's fine.
That's a beautiful collection.
On for a photo, put them all on.
Okay, so I've tried.
Oh.
I can't.
All together.
It doesn't work.
It's like 30 pounds of metal and glass.
Oh Lord!
Attach
you
them
put
all
it on
to
a
each
table,
other.
like have it on
I
the
started
table.
trying to attach them all to one of my dress forms, and it just became like I'll do a new photo at some point. My last photo was when I only had 30, but I think it's around 52 right now.
One for every week.
Good.
Yeah.
42. Is it 52 weeks or 40?
52 weeks in a year.
I think at this rate, you could just make your own Puvicell necklace chainmail of queerness at this rate.
Yeah, chainmail. Oh my god.
Make a set of armor with it. Yes, perfect.
I have them sort of displayed kind of the same way that Poovy displays them at her booth, where she's just got one of each on a peg hook on a grid wall piece. And I have, I think, 7 or 8 pegs of her necklaces with like between, 6 to 10 on the hook because they're grouped by color type, like the metal color type, and then the color family of the things on it. So like I have, I think, 8 of her Pride series necklaces, and I've totally derailed the conversation now. Sorry, guys. I have them all on a hook, and then I have a sec finish the oddballs, and then gunmetal, the rose gold, silver. They're all over there. That's fine. It's fine. This is. You're saying something.
Oh my god! In case Poovy ever needs to do inventory for all of the past releases, just needs to talk to you, right?
And I did a live stream at some point that I think is on their Instagram now, where they went through every single Crystal Heart necklace that has ever been made. There were over 100 of them, so I do have just about half, because they were showing off the new ones from when they did what might have been the final order and didn't end up being the final order, because the final order ended up saving that factory that was making the necklaces.
That was so wonderful. I'm so glad that ended up happening. Yeah.
So I did do that live stream with her, and I was showing it on my end with my white light, and she was showing it on her end with her yellow light, so you could kind of see the two. And also I've done some YouTube videos showing the wear and tear over time, because I do have ones from the original release, and then I have ones that came out in like every single batch since then.
Incredible power.
We have a request in the chat. Are there any other examples of J Fashion brand queer merchandise? I know a number of brands, not necessarily J Fashion ones, but also ones who do kind of like general kawaii stuff, have done various pride pins and pronoun pins and those kinds of things. Yes, Lena.
My brand.
Yeah.
A space dress that I made. Every year I release new Pride shit. I'm literally, if I tilt you this way and angle you downward, you can see I'm sewing a rainbow skirt right here. And then I realized the stream was going on, and I had to log on to do the stream that I said I was going to do. I always release Pride clothes and Pride accessories for my shop. Belladonna is another queer-owned J Fashion brand that they're currently quite famous for their rainbow ice cream candy shop.
Oh, we're gonna see it.
Oh yes.
The other day. They also do
Yeah.
and stuff. They always pretty regularly do designs, and one of the designers, there's two designers. Michelle also is a nail tech and does ready to press like nail nonsense that are a bunch of gay ones there. Who else does regular gay shit that's really great? There's a lot of J fashion adjacent and like Hawaii adjacent brands that do a lot of Pride series. And I'm pretty sure Bay Area K has a list of people.
Yes, either Barry K or I know that blogger Lovely Lace and Lies has also done a list.
Yeah.
Yes, one of those. Someone will post a link. I am so sure someone who is more on top of it than me. I was trying to find, there was that picture of the Belladonna ice cream shop JSK being worn by like a J fashion model. I remember it.
There's a photo of Misako wearing
there's
it.
another one too. Oh, there's this one that I was thinking of. Kimura Yu wore it, and I thought that was such a cute like photo.
Oh yeah,
No way!
With the rainbow wig too. That's
amazing.
It's kind of fun to see it on like a larger scale too, not necessarily just in the indie niche. As though we love it, it's cool that it's kind of like seen and accepted on a larger scale as well.
I have a merchandise request for Alice and the Pirates, and that's a Our Flag Means Death Captain Chris collab.
Oh,
like I don't know which character Captain Chris would like dress as, or like what his vibe would be based off of. But like I want to see that happen. I want to see some like gay pirate Alice and the Pirates stuff.
Totally.
I know that not like overtly like marketed as queer, but there are quite a few like Lolita prints that have like sapphic
symbolism,
like your Knights of St. Lily dress.
The Knights of St. Lily nun dress with the swords on it.
That's swords and lilies is very sapphic. And like the cord that Mani did.
With my antique violet dress.
Yeah,
there's a lot of examples with more symbolic kind of things.
Yeah, so I think there's quite a bit of dresses like that, which can be interpreted as queer, so if you would so wish, but they're not overtly like marketed as buy our gay shit. Yeah.
I think OG in general too, like a masculine fashion being made for AFAB bodies is like pretty queer. Good Santa have more size inclusive stuff for sure, but at a base level, it's like, it's mostly AFAB people running around as princes. That's
and then when they do like photo shoots of like two female models and one of them's dressed in OG, but they do a lot of like romantic kind of shots. There's some point they're both like in the feminine Lolita too, but they're very like.
There's a lot of really
sapphic. They seem like very good friends.
Photo shoots really where they're like, it's
a
Lolita vibe, and I'm like, that's really good.
Yeah. There's like photos of like Misako and
Midori
just like
caressing each other.
Oh my god!
Like each other's hair, and we're just like, this is so gay. Yeah, like every other Innocent World photo shoot is that, and you're like, okay.
So many visual K brands also have like AMAB folks who dress extremely femme, and that's just always like so good. Like Mega Maso is always like a big one for me, where I'm just like, wow, he's so beauty. Like Ryohei is just very gorgeous. Yeah. There's Mana. There's just so many folks who.
Yeah, Mana and other VK people are always kind of doing gender fuckery in a really kind of fun way. Yeah. I'm gonna ask Sarah Bread if you have any final thoughts, because she has to dip out soon.
I have to go. My friend is
I know. Do you have any final thoughts? You got any final gay thoughts?
I'm a thought. I don't, but thank you so much for letting me come here and just share my thoughts. I don't know. I love that we have a lot of like collective wisdom and different experiences across like all these different axes here on this panel, and I think it's just really fun. Like I don't know, it's been great.
Yeah, definitely cool to share experiences and see where we overlap or have differing opinions, and then I'll feel valid about it. Yeah, cool. We'll catch you on the flip side, Daddy-o.
Thank you for having me.
Have fun with Charlie.
I will. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye. And let's start winding down a little bit. I have one last prompt if we want to address it. What would we like other people to understand about you? We've talked about this a bit, like being perceived in like in certain ways, or like being seen as like we have to fit into like their thought about gender or modesty a lot, and how that's not really what we're going for. So I think it'd be good for people to understand that we're not trying to ascribe to any kind of particular stereotype, especially, or any kind of socially defined notion of a gender or femininity for one. It's really about like our own personal expression and wanting to be very kind of loud and artful almost. If anyone else wants to add.
I'd like to add, I guess, that I'm white and cis, so I have a large amount of privilege, and I understand that. So I think coming from that perspective, when I see other like white cis people, I don't automatically assume that they're like normal, you know. So like, because I've talked to a lot of people that once you actually like talk to them, you're like, oh, you're like, even though you look the way you like a normal white cis person, like you're a lot more complex. So I think just because if I go into society and I'm dressed like in normie clothes, that's how I pass, which again, I'm lucky because that's a big like safety thing, which is like a privilege, but also, yeah, just like people are a lot more complex than they might necessarily appear. And that also goes for if you wear like a wild, out of the box fashion, like there's a lot more complexity going there than just like, oh, you're just like, you are like a dress up drag queen or whatever, which is like, drag queens are also very complex too, but there's a lot more to a person than just their outward appearance, which I think we all know. Yeah.
You can't just pigeonhole us, because we're more than that.
Yeah.
I got 3 looks, and they're all valid, even though they're
Exactly.
I got 3 looks. That's it. But
the 3 genders.
That's the thing.
We lost Vina.
The 3 genders. I got the 3 looks, and even though they're wildly different, they're all true to who I am and how I identify. I'm non-binary and I'm transgender in the sense that I transcend gender and the norms that society wants to try and put on us. So I have a lot of personal feels about how I'm perceived out there. Every time I get ma'amed or missed, I'm like, no.
Exactly, yeah.
No.
That's very like the binaristic thinking. It's like there's more.
No.
And I'm above and outside of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Although madam is fine for some reason.
Madame.
Madame.
That's fine.
Yeah,
or my liege.
But no, that's
my lord.
Yes. Also, daddy is fine if you would like to refer to me as such. I find that hilarious.
Mommy or daddy? Oh boy.
I'm on a personal hunt to find a thrift store mug that says daddy because I do not want to buy one new. What I have found instead is 3 that say father and 1 that says best uncle ever.
Oh, nice.
The best uncle one is
not quite.
The best uncle one's pretty good.
The best uncle one is very, very good. I think that's the one I use when I go over to Paulina's house.
Nice.
I drink out of the best uncle ever. I jumping off of like a lot of what Paulina said too, I just think like, coming, like obviously we all have like very different interpretations of gender, of sexuality, of like the expectations that we want, like the things we like to be called, the ways we like to be referred to. We're all very different, and just because like we use like one set of pronouns doesn't mean that like we're okay with being ma'amed. We're okay, like like there's a lot of like differences between individuals, and I feel like I've been seeing a lot more of like folks who just immediately like write off somebody when they make a mistake, and I just come to the table with a bit more understanding. I like absolutely valid if like this is like a repeat problem with that person, or if they're not respecting your boundaries. But like I've just seen a lot of like fights that shouldn't have happened, and yeah, just more understanding. Correct someone if they got it wrong, communicate your boundaries, like text it to them really quick and then throw your phone across the room for a couple hours. That's what I do because I hate confrontation. Like, like that's kind of my final point, I guess. It's just let's all kind of be nice as we all try to figure it out in this big weird world.
Yeah, a lot of people are individuals.
Yeah, it's hard to figure out if they're being willfully ignorant or not. Like if it's just like a genuine mistake, that's one thing. But,
and then be able to acknowledge and fix their mistakes. So
Give
learn.
people the
Be
space to
open to
learn,
learning. Yeah.
Give people the safe space to make mistakes if this is the space that they also want to be in.
For sure.
I think if I have a final thing, it's like less for me specifically, but more something I, again, really enjoy from this community is a lot of acceptance in changing what words you use about yourself or how you evolve over time. Be like, well, maybe at this point I thought this way about myself, or I felt these feelings before, and it's since changed, and it's okay. It's not invalidating. And I think I'd love to see that for a lot more people, being like, you can change. It's perfectly fine. It doesn't make your past invalid, doesn't make your present invalid, and you can do whatever you want in the future. It's all open and it's all good.
People are individual. They're doing their own thing. You can't expect everyone to have the same experience or same shit going on. Yeah. Anything else people want to say?
I saw one of the comments that was earlier a while back, and they said that they were really happy about this panel because it said it gave them more language to talk about their own history, which made me so happy to see that. And I think having the language to talk about your experience is so powerful. So that really touched me to see that. So if you're still watching, hi, we love you.
I think I learned some new kind of ways of verbalizing my feelings too. Great talk. Any other closing out points we want to make?
I do think all in all, I want to jump off about that comment about how nice it was that this was able to come together. I was thinking a lot, Avina, about what you were saying about the non-binary point, because when I said that my egg cracked, it's more like it cracked a second time. I used to identify as non-binary for a good 5-6 years. And what you were saying about not owing androgyny, it did make me think a lot. It did make me think a lot about that because it made me realize that I had internalized that with myself for a very long time. And, it just kind of was a really good refresher, to think about that, how you do your identity. It should always and forever be about yourself, how you connect with it personally. It doesn't have to be about any societal expectation, even though if, that may feel crushing sometimes. It took me a very long time for me to come to this conclusion of me being a trans man, because I don't want facial hair. That's the one reason I was like, oh, I don't want facial hair, and all men must have facial hair, yada yada yada, because of presentation and all that, and it's just a good reminder that whenever you feel like you're being too into yourself and internalizing things, it is so good to be able to connect to other people face to face, other people in the LGBT community. That is so important, especially if you spend a lot of time online. Sometimes it can get really rough, getting into your own, idealizations of other people. Being able to talk like this and see other people in the community is so important and can really bring a message like this to somebody. So, just to sit with that is for these to keep happening, it's always going to be important to somebody.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Yeah. Glad
Thanks
it was
for
a
the
productive
opportunity as
conversation.
always.
Okay, I keep typoing in the chat. I'm gonna ask Jess to come and pop in though. I was trying to say I shaved my face as a cis woman. It's not working.
Hi guys.
Hi Jess. I thought you were prettifying yourself, no?
No, I was just sitting here.
Oh, my bad.
I woke up late and I was like, I'm gonna look cute because I have to be on air for at least the portion where we do the fashion walk announcements, and then I proceeded to not because
gave up.
I gave up. So hi everyone.
Goblin K.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you finish up. I'm having cramps.
Oh, okay. Go.
Oh no.
Cramps. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So thank you everyone so much for agreeing to do this panel. I am super grateful for whenever we decide that we want to do an event, immediately we have all these people jump in and be like, we want to participate and we want to help out, and having your experiences kind of like be able to like having them be able to be discussed like in this kind of space, I think is just so important. Yeah, and I've been in the background because it's I didn't want to take up this space, so I've just been doing tech.
Thank you very much for making sure the chat didn't explode.
Yeah, chat's been very good. Thank you, chat.
Thank you, chat.
But yeah, I think we are, because the fashion walk is going to air at 12, we are going to kind of close up. And I guess last thing is I'm going to share social media links. I don't remember how to do that. Panelists?
It was so great talking to y'all. Like,
Yeah,
this was
it was
fun.
It's always nice to talk to other people who want to talk positive, queer stuff.
Yes.
Good vibes.
Sorry, I was late. I don't know how time zones work.
It's all good.
I should have been more direct with my text. I sent like this weird indirect text, like, I can't wait to present with you. Wink. And then I was like, yeah, I'll see you at 3. I was like, no, not 3.
Yeah.
So no, you tell me. I was like, oh well, if I get the time wrong, I'm sure Avita will tell me because we're in the same time zone right now.
I'll be more direct next time. I don't know why I developed.
Yeah, well, time is like a flat circle, so it's fine.
I no longer, acknowledge the passing of time. It has lost all meaning. So
yeah.
So gender and time.
Gender and time. Not in my book anymore.
Trash, garbage. Bye.
Not in my book. They're not in the calendar. The stars aren't aligned.
Mercury is not in
Mercury's in
retrograde
Gatorade right now.
There's
other planets is in some Gatorade, and they need to get out.
Gatorade.
Towel off.
Yeah. But let's see. Last announcement is I have all of the panelists Instagram accounts in the chat. So everyone, please go give these wonderful panelists a follow. And also you have 6 minutes to enter the charity drawing if you want to win some prizes. So go and do that because there's like 100 gift card worth of like Lolita Collective and like there's Moss Badger merch and there's really good prizes. So please make a donation to your local LGBTQ charity or to an abortion fund. Send us a receipt and we will count you in as entry. What else? Are those my announcements?
I'm also running a fundraiser for Planned Parenthood in Southwest Florida on my Instagram. You can use that too because it gives you a receipt.
Yeah, use that and go to Avina's Instagram to find it. And I believe Black Lolita Community is also hosting a fundraiser currently, so you can also check that out. Let's see. So yeah, Fashion Walk's gonna air at 12, so we'll go on like a little 5-minute break and then come back. And after the Fashion Walk airs, I will announce the charity drawing winners. Yeah. So yeah, thank you everyone so much for doing this panel.
Thank you everyone. Thank you for hosting.
Thank you, all of you. Yeah.
Okay, and thank you to the chat also for your lovely questions and comments. It's a very good time. Very fun.
Okay, we're gonna head out. Bye everyone.
Bye everyone. Drink your water.
Drink water.
Drink water.